The Bunker is a Wales interactive movie, and one of the better ones, I think, in general. I mean, at least of the ones I've played, but I've played quite a few by now. It was directed by Alan Plenderleith, who co-wrote it with Kevin Beamers, Steve Ince, and Ian Thomas. It stars Adam Brown, Sarah Green, Graham Fox, and Miles Rowley. And yeah, like I say, it's one of the better FMV games, interactive movies, whatever you want to call it, out there. Because it does it so well. If I recall rightly, this is the one that was praised or was touted as having no CG. It's all in camera, practical props, sets, etc. And given what this was being done for, it's an interactive movie, it's a game. They could have got away with so much, just, oh, we'll just put a digital monster in chasing you, or we'll just put you on a green screen and build a set around it, something like that. They could have done that. It would have been more excusable than an actual released film. But they chose to make it as real as possible, and that sells the tension. That sells the story of John so well. But it has stuff that you expect from games. It has collectibles that are entirely optional. There's there's computers lying around with information on, like files and things that give a bit of world building. You don't have to find them, you don't have to read them. Optional. It just builds the world out more. There's documents littered about that also do the same thing. Real people who have lived in this bunker in the past, and their life stories, things that they were happy about, things that they were annoyed about, little maintenance things that they were like, why have I got to do that? But it just builds the world. There's little figures that John carved that you can find in places as well. So there's so much here that's just extra and very game-like. But again, you don't need them, because the story is told through the chapters very well on its own merits. And there's little flashbacks to fill in what happened in the past. But even those flashbacks are interactive. I missed the first prompt because I wasn't prepared for it. I was like, oh, we're just getting some plot, are we? So I just sat back and took my hand off the mouse. And all of a sudden it's like, click this button quick. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to. So I spoiled that moment, if you will. I got found. But everyone after that was hovering. And so I could get more of the story built up. I know I gave a cast list earlier, but really for, I don't know, at least 80% of the game, I would say, you are just with Adam Brown. And in case he looks a bit familiar to you and you're like, I know his face, but I don't know why. He was in the Hobbit films, unfortunately, primarily as comic relief. That was his main role. But here, he's got such good range. Because this starts out very mundane, to be honest, at first. It's, a bunker and everyone's died off apart from John and his mum. And then his mum dies too. Now, did she die when we see it, or was it earlier? Who knows? But that's a little headcanon thing for me. But, he's got a routine. He needs to keep an eye on, the various levels and things like that. It's like a routine of every day, which includes getting, like, vitamins and everything like that in him. All of these things, it's part of the routine. And one day, that routine is broken because the systems say that something's wrong. And you end up going through the bunker into these different areas, and some camera changes. I'm just like, was there something there to click? Was there something I meant to see out the corner of my eye, kind of thing? It really builds this paranoia, this fear of being isolated. But the weird thing with knowing that you're alone somewhere can sometimes make you feel like, but am I? That paranoia that someone's around the corner, it's very tangible. And whether John's experiencing it, I don't know, but I am. I definitely am. There were moments I'm like, am I meant to be looking out for someone? I was very on edge. This is a very tense psychological thriller, and it does it very well. But as you're going through, like I say, finding these backstories, trying to fix all the problems, injuring yourself in the process, which there's no medical staff here. You've got to deal with that yourself, so you've got to go back up to the infirmary, you've got to bind it with scissors and a ruler, I think, on the other side. There's all of these different things, and then it comes to the point of you realise exactly why you're the only one left. And it was a choice that your mother made. I do want people to play this for themselves, so I'm not going to go into too much of what exactly happened. But when that reveal is, revealed, I was gut punched. I think is the best word for it. I was like, oh no, that's what happened. That's why you're alone here. That's why it was just you two. And it's why the marketing shows that guy I know exactly who he is now, all this kind of stuff, and why he was doing what he was doing. It's been framed one way, and then all of a sudden the rug's been pulled out. And one of the things I love about this is it shows not only a paranoia through isolation, but also a sort of PTSD, and I would argue a very misplaced guilt. There is clearly that at play here. I think that is a factor of the PTSD, this guilt that he caused whatever happened. But it's misplaced. It was not his conscious decision. He was doing what he was told as a child, as we're all brought up to do. You do what you adults tell you to do. But this misplaced guilt has obviously, been carried for 20 odd years by this point. And then it comes to an ending where you can either choose to remain or go outside. It's me. I have one route. It's one choice. And I was like, well, if I stay, I die. If I leave, I might die. The chance is worth it. And I like the fact that it doesn't do a cop-out of just like, oh, look, everything's fine, or something like that. It's to white, and it might be fine. Who knows? It's left to your imagination to fill in. I want to believe that everything's fine, or at least okay enough that he can thrive. Maybe meet other people, maybe actually get a life now. Because his existence in the bunker for most of his life, for like 2/3 of it, give or take, have been claustrophobia, routine, very, very little, if any, human interaction. That's not healthy. That is not good. So my headcanon is the world has thrived in the interim. People have come back. Everything's fine, and he can live a life because John deserves it. I deserve it as John in some way, if you know what I mean. I really did love this, and I think this is what interactive movies and the like can do if done correctly and well. There is one thing that I didn't like about it, though, and it relies on QTEs for some tension moments. I do not like those at all, because my hands just don't work as well as they used to, and some days I just haven't got the energy to like tap, 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 or my fingers just like, no, you can't do that. So I had to sometimes sit there with holding my mouse steady in one hand and hammering the button with the other, because that's the only way that I could do it without causing myself pain. QTEs should have an option for hold. I know a lot of newer games do this, and yes, okay, it's being released in 2017, might be a factor. But I think that's one of the elements that nearly got me. I was like 5 minutes from the end, and I had to restart a section because I wasn't prepared for it, and I couldn't act quickly enough to get both hands in position. So aside from that, I did enjoy it. And like I said, even with that, my general impression is positive. So, yeah. Interactive movies, F&V games, whatever you want to call them. If you want to know how to do it well, have a look at this. Just don't include repeated tap at QTEs. So that's all I want to say. So thank you very much for allowing me to talk about this. And as always, until next time, take care.